Alt armies are going to be amazing for gold making in the War Within. Concentration allows for even the most low effort professions to print gold for you. In this video I'm going to show you the quickest way to set up your alts to start printing gold, things you need to make sure that you don't miss, other tips, and most importantly what I think will be the best 5 alt army profession specs in the War Within to make gold from. Everything here is based on the beta, but at the time of recording we have less than a week from release, so not a lot is likely to change from here. I recently did a video on the 32 best specs in the War Within. This is well worth checking out if you want more detail on the crafting and wider variety of the profession specs to choose from for your alt army. To get started then, we can simply take the portal to the new capital city once everything is unlocked on our main. Really quick and easy, you can see the portal locations in the footage on screen. This is great and saves a lot of time at the start of the expansion. So firstly, we'll head into the crafting quarter. So this is the area where all your crafting orders, your artisan security vendor and stuff like that is. Pop into here. You should have a quest just to speak to this dude and it's going to give you a reward and you can pick which bag you want and it's going to give you materials for your profession as well as 200 artisan security. They're also likely to give you quests to go and visit your profession trainers and some quests to go and do some crafting orders if that's relevant for your professions, which will reward some knowledge. In this room we also have the artisan security vendor. There is no reputation requirements on anything on here, unlike in Dragonflight, which is nice. There are loads of recipes on here, but what most alts will probably be spending the 200 artisan security on is one of the books that gives 10 free profession knowledge. At this point you want to go to your profession trainers as well and make sure that you've picked up the War Within versions of the professions that you wish to do. It's probably worth doing this first bit on all of your characters you can at the start of the expansion. Firstly, materials sell for crazy prices at the start, so it's not actually a terrible idea just to run to this point in the quest line just to unlock this bag and sell the stuff on the auction house. That is actually completely viable in the first couple of days of the expansion. Secondly, alts don't start getting rested experience until you log in on them at the start of an expansion, so this stops you missing out on that as well. Probably next, I would be grabbing my profession treasures. Every profession has 8 treasures in the world in the War Within, 2 in each of the new 4 zones. Each of these treasures gives you 3 profession knowledge for a total of 24 profession knowledge per profession from treasures. It is absolutely essential to be picking up all of these on every profession you intend to use. I cannot cover the location of all the treasures in this video, the runtime would just be ridiculous. However, I have a video on the channel which shows the location of every single profession treasure for every single profession in the War Within. That will be linked at the end of this video and in the description below. Using that you will easily get your treasures quick and easy. Now, it's not essential to get your profession gear before leveling, but every bit helps and you need to get it sooner or later anyways. We have 3 gear slots per profession. The accessories, so that's the 2 on the left, have fixed stats. The tool, that's the one on the far right, can have any of the crafting secondary stats, as well as being able to be enchanted. When we look at the best 5 alt army specs, I'll tell you what stats and enchant you should be having on your profession tool, but importantly, don't spend a lot of gold on enchants for an alt army toon. In a lot of circumstances, if you overpay, the enchant won't ever pay for itself. Not enchanting is perfectly viable for an alt army and what I would do in a lot of cases. As far as profession gear is concerned, we are aiming to get all green, uncommon, maxed rank profession gear and nothing beyond that. Now we need to level our professions up. Once again, I'm not going to cover leveling up every single profession. It would make an absurdly long video. Just use your common sense. What is really important that a lot of leveling guides won't take into consideration is you need to be crafting everything at least once. The bonus knowledge point you get on your first time crafts is essential for all of your professions. There is a filter option so you can see which first time crafts you are outstanding. Materials will be expensive at the start of the expansion, so be sensible about this. Don't waste 100k gold to get one first time craft bonus, but at the same time prioritise getting the extra knowledge when possible. Even if a first time craft is too expensive today, it doesn't mean you can't do it later when the material prices drop. Some professions are easy to level, others are a huge pain. You don't necessarily need 100 profession skill for an alt army build. A lot of these can get by on lower skill. As long as the build does what you want it to, you don't need to invest more gold or time into it. Just enjoy the gold it makes for you. That has covered almost everything besides what I think is the 5 highest potential gold making specs. At number 5, I've put a concentration enchanting build. You seem to be able to get around 60 knowledge from your first time crafts, treasures, artisan security and other stuff. I'll assume an amount of profession skill that you can comfortably get with a profession just using trainer taught recipes, and we'll only be using basic uncommon crafting equipment. These are only alts after all. This is a 20-20-20 build. There are 7 different ways you can do this depending on which enchants you want to produce. There are end nodes for weapon enchants, chest enchants, professional equipment enchants. You always put 20 points into the type of enchant you want, so this setup is for weapon enchants and 20 in each of the nodes leading up to it. This setup allows us to produce the best rank 3 enchants using only rank 2 materials and concentration. We treat this like an almost daily cooldown, although it recharges a bit slower. We log in, make our maxed ranks enchants and sell them on the auction house. Eventually players will be able to produce these at max rank without using concentration, but this will require all rank 3 materials, so you should still be able to make a profit here as your material costs will be cheaper than those that don't use concentration. There are dozens of enchants you can pick from, but basically it's a choice between those that require epic crystals and those that don't. Rank 3 epic crystals will likely be fairly rare, so mass producing those enchants will likely be much more difficult, even with enchanters who are maxed out. Therefore, concentration enchants using epic crystals are more likely to last longer for making profit with a concentration build. The downside is that the epic crystals will be fairly rare for the first few weeks of the expansion, so choosing to go this way, you may struggle to get hold of those for a while and you'll be likely slower to start making gold. Now, one of these specs in particular I 100% am going to be running on 1 or 2 alts, and that's the one for producing enchants for profession gear. These will be expensive at the start of the expansion, so if you can easily make them yourself at rank 3 for your own crafters, just using that rank 2 materials, then that's awesome. Saving gold you're going to spend anyway is better than even making gold. The recipes for the profession gear enchants are bought from the artisan security vendor. These will likely be generally rarer and more expensive simply because of the investment needed to get the recipes, rather than you getting them for free from a trainer or a knowledge tree. For the enchanting spec, I would probably run with double ingenuity on your profession tool. Now, ingenuity generally really sucks, but we are using low rank materials here. We cannot multi-craft on these, so multi-craft is useless. So we have a choice between resourcefulness and ingenuity. In this situation, even though ingenuity sucks, our only bottleneck to earning gold on this character is our concentration. So having a chance of getting any of that back is a bonus. Resourcefulness works fine too, but we tend to be using lower quality materials when we are using a concentration build, so it's not got that same sort of effect because you're not saving as much gold as if you were using more expensive reagents. So I'd go with double ingenuity on enchanting. In at number 4 we have an alchemy build producing max ranked flasks for raiders in particular the Flask of Alchemial Chaos. Now we have 2 alchemy builds on this list, and both of them could have been placed higher if it wasn't the issue that we have with getting alchemy knowledge points, as they are a bit of a pain in the arse. The treasures etc. are all easy, like we get with other professions, but with alchemy you hardly get any recipes from the trainer. Almost everything comes from discoverers, so it just requires that bit more effort and resources to get the first time craft knowledge bonuses. On the plus side, with alchemy it's really easy to get to 100 profession skill. Once you discover a flask, just keep making it until you get to 100 skill. Super easy. Because of that, I will assume you have 100 profession skill because it's so easy to get for these builds. Now everything I say here is assuming that this is a bisque flask, but that seems a reasonable conclusion to come to, seeing as this flask has so much higher of a recipe difficulty than the others, and in Dragonfly its counterpart was also bisque. Assuming this is a bisque flask then, this is one of the best concentration builds in the War Within. Once again, we're aiming at using rank 2 materials and concentration to make rank 3 flasks. With 100 profession skill and 60 knowledge, we can very almost do this, just needing a few rank 3 herbs. With just a little bit more effort and a few more knowledge points, past 60, we can make these with just rank 2 materials alone. So why is this such a great thing to be setting up on our alts to be making then? Selling bisque consumables, you can't really go wrong. There will always be a constant demand. Every raider will always need these, that's great, but that's not why I like the spec so much. What makes me like it is the insane recipe difficulty of 755. This makes it harder to set up initially, but makes it much better in the long term. It should literally take months for even the most dedicated alchemist to get the ability to craft these without using concentration. And until they can be crafted without concentration, supply of these are going to be limited and demand will always be high, which usually means good prices and profit margins. Even when alchemists can produce these with rank 3 materials and no concentration, they'll be likely be expensive, needing 32 herbs and 2 vials at rank 3. That's a lot of rank 3 stuff when you can produce these with much lower quality materials. Overall, this is a solid choice, just a little bit more effort to set up, but the fact that that recipe difficulty is so high should buy you quite a lot of time to make gold from this. For producing these flasks, I would definitely be using a multi-craft tool with Ingenuity again. Like I said, the multi-crafting, just the chance of getting the extra flasks is just too good. It is by far the best stat for this spec. And the Ingenuity, like I said, sooner we get that concentration back, the more gold we can make. The concentration is the limiting factor on the amount of gold we can make. Resourcefulness is fine if you want to run that as you enchant, but we tend to be using low cost materials, so it's not as effective. In at third, we have the Leatherworking armor kits. There's a basic crappy dual layered armor kit, but this sucks. We're looking at the Defender's armor kit for tanking, but in particular the Stormbound armor kit, the DPS leg enchant for strength and agility users. Both of these main armor kit recipes come from vendors. The Defender's armor kit for tanking comes from the Artisan's Acuity vendor in the new capital city. The Stormbound armor kit comes from a renowned quartermaster, so this does require some reputation, but remember that is an account bound thing now, so it's so much easier to get. I think you only need level 4 for this, so you're likely to have this very early in the expansion as long as you clear out the zone. This spec is super easy to set up. First time crafts from Leatherworking are plentiful, and the armor kits themselves only have a recipe difficulty of 400. You can end up even making these with a lot of rank 1 materials and concentration. The demand for these and how easy it is to set up is great. My only concern here is that because the recipe difficulty is so low at 400, crafters will quickly be able to produce these without concentration. As we discussed in the previous specs, just because they can mass produce them with high quality materials doesn't mean you won't be making gold anymore. because of your lower material costs. For leatherworking kits, I would definitely be running a multi-craft profession tool with an ingenuity enchant. Multi-crafting, better than anything for any spec that it works for. Ingenuity, just a small chance of getting some of that concentration back. Resourcefulness, that's fine too, but like I said, low cost materials, so we don't really care there. Our bottleneck to earning gold is our concentration. Overall then, the concentration leatherwork armor kit spec is easy to set up, cheap to run, good demand for what you're making, but this spec could have the shortest life profitability of all of them because of the low recipe difficulty. And for number 2, we are back to alchemy for a transmutagen build. This is the build we are running. Mostly we need the gleaming transmutagen tree maxed out. With alchemy we can destroy 20 of almost any material in the wall within, and we get various materials back out of this. We just want to do this with the cheapest possible materials, which will probably end up being cloth, to get the gleaming transmutagen from it. The first time we do this each day gives around 25 gleaming transmutagen. Subsequent uses give 3 each. We use 80 gleaming transmutagen, and from that we make a Blasphemite, epic gem, which we can sell on the auction house. Basically, for a low cost, we can produce one of these just over every 3 days. As long as you're destroying the cheapest possible materials each time, you can't really go wrong here. My only concern with this spec is that the prices on the Blasphemite could plummet if the material prices drop too low. For example, destroying 20 cloth continuously gives 3 gleaming transmutagen a time. If we did that 27 times with 540 cloth, we would get the 80 gleaming transmutagen for a Blasphemite, and we could literally do this all day. If cloth was selling for 1 gold each, then that's just over 500 gold per Blasphemite. Sticking to the daily first time 25 gleaming transmutagen bonus will always be more profitable because you're just using so much less material. You're using perhaps 60 per Blasphemite instead of those that are spamming them out for 540. But it only takes a couple of idiots with terrible math skill to destroy this market. This one is great, a bit more effort to set up because it's alchemy, but a solid choice. Just don't put it on every single alt, just in case there are issues with this market, because these can easily be mass produced. Finally, in at number 1 slot is tailoring. Everything I'm going to say here assumes Blizzard don't cock up the tailoring cooldowns like they did at the start of Dragonflight, allowing players to infinitely produce the cloth and wreck the market. We're going to look at 2 tailoring specs, and you need a mixture of these to be making full use of this. Firstly, producing the cooldown cloth, we're going to go from dawn till dusk and run 15, 25, 20. You can run the same spec down the right side to get the other type of cooldown cloth. We now have our cooldowns to produce the cloth, so we will use this whenever available to produce rank 2 cloth. When you have concentration available, use this to make rank 3 cloth instead, but most of what you'll be producing will be rank 2 because you do not have anywhere near enough concentration to use this on every single cooldown. I see it suggested that you should run this on every character and sell the cloth. That would be okay, of course, but I would rather do something with the cloth to make more gold. I would suggest setting up tailors running a Spellthread leg enchant spec. For this spec, we're going to go into quality fabric and put 30 points into Spellthread, and then go back from dusk until dawn and do a 5-25 spec. Once again, you can do either side of the from dusk until dawn tree, depending on which Spellthread you want to make. The recipes for the Spellthreads we unlock here from the dusk till dawn knowledge tree. Running this spec, we can use our rank 2 cloth cooldown and concentration to make rank 3 Bis Spellthread leg enchants. I personally think you're much better off having a variety of tailors and selling rank 3 Spellthreads from your rank 2 cloth, rather than trying to sell buckets of rank 2 cloth. You will still sell any rank 3 cloth you get from using concentration on those cooldowns directly on the auction house. This doesn't mean you can't sell any rank 2 cloth, but it should reduce the amount you have to sell. I think tailoring on an alt army is a really solid choice. My only concern is that the market getting flooded with rank 2 cloth, but we are mitigating that risk by turning most of our rank 2 cloth into spell thread to sell. Overall, easy to set up and solid, reliable returns. You can't go wrong with this one. For the tailoring alt army profession builds, for both of them I would run a multi-craft tool with an ingenuity enchant. Like I said, multi-craft, if we can use it, is the best possible thing and it is helpful on both of these specs. The ingenuity enchant just gives us a small chance of getting some concentration back, which is our biggest bottleneck for earning gold. Resourcefulness, like I said, works fine too, but the low cost materials makes it less effective. That was my personal top 5 choices for alt army profession specs, but my last video discussed the top 32 specs you could potentially run on alts. So if you want even more options or ideas, please check out that video. I also have my guide to getting all the treasures for every profession, 24 free knowledge each, essential for setting up all of these professions. Please like the video if it helped and let me know what alt army profession specs you're going to be running. Thanks for watching guys, and see you next time.